Welcome to the Free Game Don D podcast, life, family, and business. Listen, today on the show we have Carlos Hall, and me and Carlos are going to be talking about who comes first. And it's in reference to something that was on social media, and it was talking about how a lot of times in a relationship, especially in marriage, that the husband and the wife forget to put each other first, and they put the children first. Then they end up in some sort of divorce. And I was, of course, basically siding with that mentality. And Carlos had, I think he somewhat agreed, but he had a little bit of a different perspective. So he said that was my biggest struggle. I felt like when I became a father, that was my most important job in the world. And when my ex-wife filed for divorce, she said that she felt like she came second to the kids. And I felt that energy, man. I really did. And so I invited him to come on the podcast, and us just to chop it up a little bit about like that whole thing, because I know that's kind of like a hot button thing with people, like who comes first. Oh, my kids come first, my wife come first, my husband come first. I get all of that. So we just gonna chop it up a little bit on the topic, who comes first. So Carlos, man, tell us a little bit about yourself, man, and let's chop it up, man.
Hey, appreciate you having me, man. Hey, first, I want to say I was always told that the game should be sold, not told, and you giving it away for free. So I appreciate you.
My man.
So my name is Carlos Hall. I'm 46, from Augusta, Georgia, born and raised. Always, I'm on social media a little bit because I do some acting, and you're one of the people that I always respect. We comment and we talk a lot, on certain issues, and I'm like, he's a good brother, so you got my respect.
Hold on a second there, Los, because I was trying to tell my wife about your acting, and okay. Man, this dude, man, he be acting and all kind of stuff, man.
Yeah.
We from Augusta, man. This dude had acting, man. Big time.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit, man.
Okay, I've done some. It actually started 2012. I had a friend of mine. He wanted to do a photo shoot for a portfolio. He was a photographer, and we did a photo shoot together. A little uncomfortable, dude coming to me asking me about doing a photo shoot, but yeah. But it kind of worked out, and my family, they were like, you should kind of, shop those pictures around, see what you can do with them, and send them off to like Tyler Perry and things like that. And so I did end up doing some stuff with Tyler Perry, and a local guy here, Carlton Clay, who does a lot of stuff.
Sure.
He got with me, and we've been doing a lot of stuff.
Wow,
got a good bit of content out there.
Yeah, no, that's dope, man. Listen, I don't know nobody that's done any acting, so I was like, man, we're gonna get Los up in here, man.
Yeah,
and, we're gonna get a feel for what that looks like, man.
Okay,
but yeah, man. But no, on the topic, man, I know that I made the post and you watched the video and then you responded the way that you did, man,
right.
And that's what it made me reach out to you, like, hey, man, would you like to come on the show and just kind of chop it up, man? So can you speak to like your comment and the sentiments behind that?
Right. When we've talked before, and I'm like one of those people who get on social media and probably overshare a little bit too much. But I always feel like if my situation can help somebody else, then I don't mind sharing it, even if it makes me look bad or whatever it may be. But when I saw the post, I said, I struggled with that. I still struggle with it. Probably. With my relationship, my marriage, it was, I didn't feel like I was putting the kids first, but, with my ex-wife, I think she felt that way. And there's always this, I think your post was saying, you still got to date, you still got to do these things. But, as we say now, when life starts life, and, sometimes that gets lost, kind of pushed to the wayside. You have kids and activities, and you're, going places. I had a stepson who was playing, travel ball, and, we were going here and there. We had, 2 daughters together. And so we made that stuff kind of like family trips. And but I guess she and I, she felt like I wasn't putting enough attention towards, just she and I.
Wow. Now, let me ask you this, because how long have you been divorced?
It has been 5 years now.
5 years.
Years. Yeah.
Do you think you think you've grown from that situation?
I do. I do. I've been out here, dating, and I think take that into consideration. Making sure that I try to spend as much, time and attention as I can when I'm in a relationship. And but being that I'm not married right now, then my kids definitely come first.
Oh, for
and
sure.
I hope that any woman coming in a relationship would understand that.
Yeah, listen, man. Let me make sure that we're clear on this, man. When I was dating, and even me and Michael dated 3 years, all 3 of those years, my kids came first. So under no, we don't want to give anybody the impression that we think that kids should come second to boyfriends or fiancés or any of this kind of stuff.
Right.
But when you make a commitment to get married, you know my position on this. I believe that once I make a commitment to get married, now me and this woman are in a union, and so it's our job to show these children what love looks like. And so I do believe that, and I also believe that if the husband and the wife actually put each other first, the kids actually end up winning by default. So, but I think sometimes what happens is, it's easier for us to love these kids than to love each other.
Yeah.
It's done got rough between us, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So can you speak to some of that?
Yeah, I can. I think that with the the dynamic, I think that both of the spouses have to be on that same page. And I think if that's not there, then they still won't really see the healthy side of it. Because I know in my relationship, my kids didn't see arguing and that kind of stuff because I just wasn't going to do it. Because I was raised in that. My dad was, very vocal, even physical at times. And I always said I never wanted my kids to have to go through any of that because that's, some trauma that, takes time to heal from. And so I think that if both of the parents, because, so in my situation, I felt like I was doing, I was just, I felt like I was living life. I was, a husband, I was a father. But, if I came home and my kids ran to me, that was, the best feeling in the world. And it wasn't that I would ignore my ex-wife, but, I would, go to the kids kind of. And I'm like, yeah, hey, have fun with them. And I'm like, have you done your homework? Is your homework completed? If not, we'll sit down and do it. If they did it, let me sit down and check it with you, make sure everything is good. And I felt like that probably should have been a whole family dynamic that we could have made, our evening or whatever. And, but, I think, I guess, I don't know if I should have, done more with bringing her in. But I didn't, and so maybe in her mind I was choosing the kids first, but in my mind I was being a family man.
Wow. So like I know you talked about the arguing and all this kind of stuff. So because sometimes just I know we talked prior to this, and just you didn't argue, but did she argue?
Yeah, she a little bit, but it's hard to argue when I'm not arguing back. But
for sure,
but that also makes some.
It makes it because now it's almost like I'm arguing and you're not responding.
You
don't care,
right?
So now you're dealing with this. You know what I'm saying? So, right. But I get it. So with that being said, like, where do you think relationships go wrong? And you end up in this type of situation to where it's like, oh, well, you're not giving me enough attention. Like, what do you think happened? It's not even necessarily your specific case, but just in general, we see a lot of guys in this type of situation. So they're providing, doing everything that they've been taught to do to be a man. And then it's like, then there's this breakdown in the relationship. Like, what do you think? How do you think that happens?
It's, for one, I would say communication. And then, like we spoke about, there's times when she was asking me for certain treatment. Then I was asking her to do, be a certain way. And I was like, so, maybe if you're doing this, then I'll do what you're asking for. and I guess neither one of us was really willing to, do that. I was like, so if you want to, is this more attention from me, to be more loving, to, do these things, then I need you to be, softer or, or nicer. Show me you appreciate it when I do some things, and then maybe I'll do more of it. And then I feel like that would have, helped us in our dynamic. And there were times when, like I said, she felt like we didn't do enough, just the two of us. And I had a job, to where I had 7 days off a month, 7 straight days. And, so I'm not a traveler. I try to provide a life, for us so that I like my actual life. I don't want to pretend life for a weekend, to rent a big house or to rent a nice car and go different places. I want that in my everyday life. So maybe I wasn't always thinking about, traveling. But if I have 7 free days, every month, then she could have easily, I told her she could have easily came to me and been like, hey, baby, next time on your 7 days off, how about just you and I do something? And that communication right there would have fixed, some of it. But also I do feel like, people say that you do what you want to do for who you want to do it for. So at the same time, I feel like if she had done, some of the things I was asking, then I probably would have did, maybe I would have led that charge to take her somewhere, just the two of us, and spend some time together with just the two of us.
So basically you tell me that you didn't really feel like compelled to do some of the things that she was asking of you because, of the dynamic of the relationship.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Basically.
Wow. Now let me ask you this, because I know people are gonna listen to this. They're probably gonna want to know, like, did y'all? I know you said that your ex had a child already. Then y'all had children together. Did you notice a change when she started having kids?
I did. Yep, I did. It was. So we went through a few different, changes.
Make sure you bring the mic a little closer, Los.
Okay. Yeah, we went through a few different changes when the kids were born, and then there was, and she admitted later that maybe she was dealing with some postpartum, that kind of thing that she never dealt with, and a family of 5, it's different, when we were, just the two of us, and then my stepson was, already, 5 years old. So he was, it was kind of easy to leave him with somebody and, go off. And it wasn't so easy, when you have small children. So that could have, played a part.
Yeah.
Also.
I mean, but I'm assuming you were the kind of father that was hands-on, like you helped out with the kids. It wasn't just her, right?
I did. Yeah. Yeah, I did. Matter of fact, probably did a little too much. She, because she had a cesarean for both of the pregnancies. So I was, doing a lot for the first few weeks. And, that even kind of caused some problems because I thought I was just being the great husband, the great father. And she said I was trying to take over and trying to be the mother at one time. So that made me kind of, maybe step back there too. But it was just, without saying, too much, we just didn't get on the same page. So, I think we if we had some discussions, it probably would have helped a lot.
Wow. So, So I guess because we're talking about who comes first, and wow, was there ever a time that maybe you two came first in a relationship?
I think so. Maybe before my first daughter was born. Because my, stepson, he, always had places, that he was, kind of going. So there was times that we were, it was just the two of us. But things did move really fast. So it was, it wasn't long before my daughter came along, and then, we were, into the family life. And I thought, I was, trying to do everything right, because you think, you go down a list of what a husband is, the provider, protector, and all of those things. And you think that you're doing everything right. But, like I said, maybe I did overlook, some stuff like giving her more attention. But I was last 3 years of our marriage when I started making, significantly more money than she made. I said, well, you know what? We're going to, move out here to Grovetown and we'll get the house and, I'll take care of all the bills. And she was working. She had her job making, pretty decent money. And I said, I'll front the bills and she can, she would buy, groceries. I gave her the gas and cable bill to pay, but we had a joint account and we had a separate account. So I would put enough money in the joint account that I know she could cover the cable and the gas. So it was like, I felt like she was living the dream that every woman wanted. When you watch all these podcasts now, it's like,
come on now.
Everybody talking about
hold up, man.
50-50
single women, y'all hearing this right?
Yeah. So 50-50 this and 50-50 that. And I'm like, I felt like she was living what everybody is, looking for. And still wasn't happy. So, and a lot of times, with men, our, just appreciation and respect is, it goes a long way, man, a long way.
Yeah. So, wow, that's a lot. So even with all of that, because I'm sitting there thinking about how we were raised as men, we're raised to, to handle the business. And as long as you're doing that, it's almost like, well, I mean, the generation before us, I guess baby boomers would, their generation was like, well, as long as he's paying the bills, and that ain't enough no more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you can't just pay the bills no more.
Right.
So,
yeah.
baby, that man paying the bills, man. And so,
oh yeah,
that's just not quite enough anymore. And so it sounds like maybe in your mind you thought, well, I'm a phenomenal father. The bills are paid. You don't really have to work. Right. I'm certainly appreciate everybody contributing to the success of the family financially, but you don't really have to work. And I feel like I'm a catch here. I feel like I'm the kind of guy that most women would like to have. I mean, you don't want to say that because then she'd be like, how the things go back and forth. Then but
right.
but yeah. I mean, I get it, man. I get it. And so your position is children come first.
That was my position, yes, because I felt like, all right, so with you, what's the worst thing that could happen if you're not a good husband? And then what's the worst thing that could happen if you're not a great father? So I felt like, when I became a father, I felt like that was my most important job in the world because, even with my stepson, it was, keep him off the streets, keep him out of jail. My attention to him is going to, be a big factor in that. My daughters, 2 girls, in this, this era of ratchetness that's going on is, do everything. Right.
I'm just saying.
Is do everything possible that they don't want to be that and, be on the pole or to be, have an OnlyFans. And I'm like,
wow.
So that was
on Tinder.
Right. That was my big, my big, thing. I'm like, I have a job here to do and I need to make sure that I can put some productive citizens in society and they're doing something respectable with themselves.
I'm gonna be honest, man. You got me over kind of second guessing myself a little bit because when you say what's the worst that can happen if you're not a good husband and what's the worst that can happen if you're not a good father, if you're not a good husband, the worst that can happen, you get a divorce.
Right.
But you a father, forever. I'm always going to be the father. Same thing goes with mothers. I'm always going to be a mother. So I got to definitely, no matter what happens in this marriage, I'm still a dad. And it's funny because when I got a divorce from my ex, that was my mentality. I was like, this didn't work out, but I'm going to be a phenomenal dad. Actually, I'm going to be an even better father now because, you know what I'm saying? I feel like my head is clearer now. I really can be the dad that I need to be. So I don't want to be a hypocrite because when I first got out of that marriage, I was like, man, I'm about to be the best dad ever,
Right.
you know, because these are gonna be my kids forever. But marriages, man, I don't know how long that's gonna last, man. I mean, it's you
Right.
know, so from that perspective, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, and I understand that common ground, and I guess a little bit of a different perspective here because you're still single. From your are you single?
In a relationship.
Okay, I'm sorry. 'Cause,
Not married.
okay,
but-
you're in a relationship. Okay, let me make sure I clarify that. I don't want to like. He said you were single. You
Yeah.
ain't, you ain't correct him. So let me get that corrected.
Right.
You're in a relationship, but technically, you ain't married.
Yes,
You available.
Right.
Technically, and that goes for men and women.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. But I think for me, because I got remarried and I married someone that I was evenly yoked with, and we communicate. Oh man, communication. People talk about how important communication is, and I think they just say it communication is important, but when you really have communication, you realize, oh my God, this will save you. Because I know in my marriage, Michael went through some postpartum, and we talked about it, and about how she was changing, and it allowed me to be more supportive of those changes and us to kind of work through it through communication, man. But for me, when I say that my wife come first, and my kids, they know it too. They like, man, don't try Michael, man, because daddy not playing. Hey, I mean, I believe in I grew up in the church. I grew up reading the Bible. It don't say leave your wife and stick to your kids. I mean,
Right.
so it says, leave your parents and stick to your wife, stick to your husband. So, but I do understand the sentiment, especially when you're out of a relationship and you're like, man, my kids I fully understand that type of energy.
Right.
Yeah, I really do.
Yeah.
I really do, man. So, so Los, man. So if you was to, man, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm gonna kind of do it a little bit.
Okay.
If you was to get remarried,
Mm-hmm.
would you consider putting your wife first?
I would. Yeah, I would. And my kids are older now.
For sure,
So that makes a difference.
it does. It does.
So I would, and like you said before when we were speaking about it, seeing that dynamic is healthy for them also, so that they may, be able to get into a healthy relationship.
Yeah, I actually think that you're doing it probably the right way anyway, man. I used to listen to this lady on the radio when I was in trucking. Her name was Dr. Laura Schlesinger, and she would always tell people they were going through divorces. She would say, well, you guys are getting a divorce, you got small kids, don't get remarried until those kids are out of high school. You don't want to mess them up or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I think the way you're doing it is probably, how old is your youngest daughter?
15.
15? Yeah. So, in a few more years, I mean, you really won't, you'll still have kids that you're still going to have to help and do stuff for, but it'll be a little different. You know what I'm saying?
It will.
And, so I don't think I think the way you're doing it may be good long term. I mean, because now, you have children that they still need you, but, so like I say, maybe not quite as much,
Right.
So there's a little bit of a different dynamic. So is that kind of your thought process now? Like, I'm just trying to get my kids out of high school and get them on the right path. And before I really I'm serious because you're in a relationship. So of course you're serious about that, but like serious.
Right. And it is. It is a big part of it. I'm, 5 years divorced now. And my daughters, they've only, met one woman. And I was intentionally that way. I didn't want to bring, random people in and out and introducing them to them. That was a big thing for me. And, I don't want to, they're at the age now, I really don't want to force anybody to be a, stepmom kind of, deal. Just, because, they have a mom, and I don't want to, put that pressure on anyone to, be a stepmom to teenagers.
Yeah, no, trust me. I put that pressure on Michael, so
Yeah.
yeah, so I understand that all too well. Yeah. So I guess my take on it, because I'm looking at you. I mean, you're a clean cut, handsome dude. You know, and you know, have a great job. I'm trying to figure out why these ladies ain't. I'm surprised anybody try to get on their knee and ask you. That's what they're doing now. So you know,
Oh man.
anybody put no pressure on you yet, man?
Oh man. Oh, it was now. So when I first got divorced, it was almost overwhelming. I've never been single in the social media era, so it was like, you know, it was a lot. And, you know, I was like, you know, I'm just getting out of a marriage, and I'm like, I'm not trying to rush into anything. And I probably didn't, you know, I didn't even know how to date, you know, like, you know, date women here, date women there. It was like, I'm used to being with one woman, you know. And so
basically you're trying to tell me, like, Don, it wasn't in me to be a player. I'm not that guy. Like, I'm a one woman type guy. I'm a settle down type guy.
Right.
And that's what I'm hearing, because that's how I am. So,
okay. Yeah.
you know, I was single, and it was 2006. So, you know, there's a little social media stuff going on here. I wasn't that active on social media back in 06, but by the time I did get active on social media, somebody had already locked me down. So it was probably good for her, man. I was like, man, it's wild out here in these streets, man. I mean, so I get it, man. But like, I've never been a playboy or any of that kind of stuff, man. Just never have. So I get it on your end. You're like, man, I ain't never really been, you know, you're just a real like quiet, soft guy. Like, meaning like, you know, you just chilling. I mean, I'm assuming that girls probably come and talk to you.
Yeah. Every now and then. yeah. But and that was the other thing, you know, within my marriage, I was like, you know, not only I felt like I was, you know, making, you know, income that, you know, women desire, you know, but I was, you know, loyal, you know, 15 years, like, you know, and I'm like, what are you complaining about? You're complaining about this. I mean, I could see if you was complaining about me out here in the streets, you know, yeah, I'm not coming home. I'm not answering your calls. My sister called my phone one day, and my ex-wife answered, and she said, "Hey, girl, he didn't left his phone home. I was at work." And she said, when she hung up with it, she was like, "I know my brother a good man, because I know guys would have called off if they left their phone at home." And you know they got that meme where the car is on two wheels turning around.
Right.
Guy saying, "I left my phone at home," and you know, I was that kind of husband. I was like, there's nothing to worry about in my phone. So, you know, I left it at home that day. I didn't try to turn around and go get it. I was like, I'll be running probably 10 minutes late if I turn around. So I was like, you know, it's hard being without your phone just in case of emergency. But I was like, if they need me bad enough, they'll get me through the job. So, but I was, you know, that type of husband, and, you know, I thought that was what, you know, everybody was looking for.
No, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that's what a lot. Here's the thing, man, about marriages to go south, man. When a marriage goes south, we tend to think that something's wrong with us.
Yeah.
And so we tend to think that, okay, everything I'm doing is wrong, and that's not necessarily the case. Yeah, we can tweak some things, right? I mean, I always tell, you know, guys, when they get out of a relationship or a marriage, get some therapy, because therapy helped me to realize I need to focus on Donald. Like, what could Donald have done differently? Yeah. I can't worry about her stuff. She got to worry about her own stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I got to figure out what can I do so I can be better for the next person, right? If that makes any sense, because
absolutely,
I believe what I was doing, most women would want. I mean, but there was some things I could have done better, and I could have done differently. I could have tweaked some things and been a better Donald. And so you 5 years out of a divorce, like I'm sure there's some things you look back on it like, man, I could be a better Carlos. I could have been a better Carlos even when I was in that situation. But and it's a hard discussion to have with guys. And even when I first got out of my situation, for me to say, yeah, I could have been better, but I could have been better for her. Yeah, because of what our situation was, all the years of what we had dealt with, I could not have been no better for her, because it would have always kept coming up. Like certain things would have kept coming up because I just couldn't have been better for that situation
Right.
with that woman. I can be better with somebody else, but with her, either I'm gonna be quiet and not argue, or I'm gonna argue and now we're, it's bad. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's so much negative. It's so many years of things unsaid or said that still hurt and haven't really been addressed, that we just can't really get past some of this stuff, man. Emotionally, man. So and I know you said y'all got a divorce, and I'm assuming that a lot of fathers are familiar with this. You were part-time dad.
Yeah, that's
Which
the way
is-
I felt.
Yeah, and I think that's the case. I mean, if you're getting your kids every other weekend or holidays, I mean, you've been reduced to a part-time dad. They'll tell you that you
Yeah.
got that it's a joint custody situation. How's it joint? I mean,
Right.
I'm picking my kids up, every other Friday, and I got, holidays and things of this nature. But nah, man, you don't reduce me to being a part-time dad. So
Yeah.
what was that like?
Oh man, that was my biggest struggle. I had some dark days. I'm telling you, that was like my darkest time. So when in Georgia, when you file for a divorce, they tell you, well, somebody has to be out of that house within 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, well, I can't, buy a house in 2 weeks. I can't, I don't want to rush out and rent somewhere, so naturally, like Chris Rock said, I don't want to go back to my mama because you ain't in love, but I went back to my mama's house, and luckily she had the space for me. But so I went back, went to my mom's house for, I think I was there for about 6 months, and luckily she had the room too. So when my daughters came over, that they had a room to stay in. But I remember the first time that I came to the realization that this was about to be my new life. I'm up in the room at my mom's house, and my daughters came for the weekend, and when they left, I was like, man, it's like, this is my new life. I was like, I was with them, every day, since they have been born, and I'm being reduced to this, and I had never felt that kind of anxiety before. It was, I was up in the room, and I started, trying to go to sleep, and I just had this, and now I know anxiety, running through me, like, and this energy, and I didn't know what to do with it, and I was just like, I jumped up off the bed, and I remember, being in the room, and I was like, and I felt like I could have punched through a brick wall. That's how much, anxiety I was having, been pent up energy, and something just told me, I had my weight bench all down in my mom's garage, and something said, go work out. And that was one thing that I think kind of saved me, was working out. That's what I turned to to help that energy that I was having, and help fight that anxiety. So, when I always, talk to people about this kind of stuff, I say, working out is a form of, therapy to help deal with it, to get that energy off of you. And that really helped me, and helped my biceps and all a little bit too. So it was it was the 2-for-1 thing, but it was rough. It was really an adjustment to make, man. That was some of my darkest days.
Wow. So were you like, I know me, when we got a divorce, was you every other weekend?
Pretty much, but then they would have stuff that they were doing, like with cousins and things like that, and I have a crazy work schedule too. So I do the swing shift, so I'm so I might have been working, and even if they were at the house, and I'm going to work, at nights and that kind of stuff, and coming home and sleeping during the day. So it was, it was different. So sometimes it was, one of those things. Well, if you work at nights, or if you're working, then they'll just, stay here, or they'll go, maybe visit their cousins, and my oldest daughter would go, stay with her friends and that kind of thing. So it was rough. I felt like, when we were married, I felt like I was the best dad in the world. And then when we got a divorce, I felt like I was, part-time dad. I was,
Wow.
okay.
Wow. Let me ask you this, man. Like I said, I know we're talking about who comes first when it comes to a marriage. I mean, looking back on it, do you think there's anything you could have done differently, like in a sustainable way? Not just like, yeah, I could have done this, but like, would it have been sustainable? Like, is there anything you could have done differently that you could have, they could have helped this relationship be better?
I want to say that I could have, maybe if I had, done some of the things that, she talked about, after the divorce, like, she and I doing stuff, together, just the two of us. But I still feel like, just being completely honest, in my mind, I felt like nothing was ever going to be good enough. It was just, that kind of relationship in my mind that I was never going to be able to do enough, because people have to be happy. Happiness really comes from within. And if you don't have that, then you are never going to make somebody happy. It's never going to be enough. And we've seen it. I know this is a celebrity marriage, but Will and Jada, and he said that he retired from trying to make her happy, and I felt that in my soul when he said that. He said, "Show me that you can make yourself happy, that it's even possible." And I felt that when he said it. And I don't know the dynamic of their relationship and all that stuff, but yeah, I felt that people have to be happy from within.
No, listen, man, that's hey, man, pass the offering on that, man. You do have to be. Me and my daughter chopped it up the other day, and about some of her dating struggles, and I said one of the things is that first of all, you got to be happy. So when you start loving yourself, the goal is to find someone else that loves themselves. Right. Now you two can love each other. Right. You know what I'm saying? But I think that a lot of times we get married to someone who doesn't really love themselves. Yeah. And we think we love ourselves, but then we get in these situations and we realize maybe I didn't even love myself the way I thought I loved myself, because, man, I don't let a lot of stuff happen. And, but if I keep doing this, if I, buy this nice home, I think there's a lot of guys out there right now. They're buying big homes, fancy cars. I know that couldn't have just been me and you. And I'm thinking, man, this is going to everybody. She's going to be happy, and she's not happy. And hell, I'm not even happy, to be honest. I mean, so, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's just, you talking about, someone being happy. I mean, I think that's actually powerful, man. I've been talking about that for years, man. Like, dude, you got to be happy, and you got to find someone else that you can't make nobody happy, man. What? You can't. How you gonna make somebody happy, man? You can't. That's an inside job, man. Right. So, but yeah, man. And I think that's the whole thing about who comes first. Is like, if I marry a woman and she loves herself, and a woman marries a man and he loves himself, then they have a child. Remember now, because, your wife and your husband, you love them the way you would love yourself. Now we got a product of our love. Right. Oh man, please, we ain't gonna never let that child go without, because that's a product of the love that we have for each other. I mean, so when people talk about who comes first, even when I tell you that my wife comes first, it's still, my son and my daughter still benefit greatly from that, because we both love each other. I think a lot of times when you don't have that dynamic where your woman is happy, you happy, and y'all happy together, building a happy family. Yeah, man. It's tough, man. But and I didn't have that. I mean, so but the first thing I did was went to therapy, because I was like, man. Then I realized through therapy I didn't even love Donald. Yeah. And boy, that's a hard pill to swallow, man. Wow. I did not love Donald though. And I'm sure you probably had some moments where you didn't love Carlos, right?
Yeah, I think so. And therapy, I still say that I'm gonna go, but I have not. I have not done the therapy yet. I was dating a girl that was the guidance counselor, so she kind of, I guess, was my
she gonna do your homework, man. Come on, man. That ain't gonna work, man. Go to a real therapist, man. Come on.
But And then, you know, and with me, I felt like I knew what the therapist was going to say. I was like, yeah, I know what they're going to say, you know, so I know, you know, what I would answer to this or that. And, but it is, I think it is something I still should do. And even from, you know, childhood trauma that I've had, I
Listen,
feel like
man,
it's
Los,
a good thing.
I love you, bro. You gotta go to therapy. Because when I went to therapy, I realized I had some childhood trauma.
Yeah.
See, sometimes you're in these situations, and even your ex. I mean, there's trauma there, you know, and we do things, man, because of childhood trauma, man. We in certain situations because of childhood trauma, and we just don't really deal with it. Because honestly, we've been raised up in a culture that, nah, man, you don't go to therapy, man.
Oh, yeah.
Don't tell my business. Don't tell your business. I mean, you up here, you know,
Exactly.
what you mean? Don't tell you. Somebody need to tell your business, man. So, we in trouble over here, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, dude, therapy, man. Listen, man, therapy saved my life, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Therapy saved my life, man. When I first left my ex, I mean, honestly, man, I thought I couldn't be the. And this is another myth that guys got to break out of mentally. We think that if we leave the woman, that we can't be a father anymore.
Yeah.
If I'm not in this marriage, I can't be a real dad anymore. We think that and don't get me wrong, the way the system is set up, to some degree, it does affect your ability to be the type of father you want to be, of course. But you can still be a phenomenal, active dad, man. But therapy really, really helped me. Sitting on that couch and talking to this young lady, it was over at MCG. I'm never gonna forget it, man. She really helped me, man. And the biggest thing she helped me was to see that I needed to be focusing on me, because I was on that couch the whole time talking about all these bad things that my ex did to me.
Okay.
I was like, oh man, she did all this, man. She wasn't ever happy, man. She wasted my money. Oh man, she just. And the therapist let me just go at it. Let me just talk all kind of trash. I was just like getting it in.
Okay.
And she said, why did you allow that to happen? Did you hear anything that I just said? Let me get my money back, man. But I had to come to the realization, man, that, you know, I created an environment for a lot of bad things to happen to me. And, you know, same with her. So, I mean, you know, it was a situation where there was a lot of childhood trauma on both ends, things that needed to be dealt with and talked about. And we were not in a healthy place to have a real relationship of that caliber, man. And then you bring kids into the situation. Oh, my goodness. You got two mentally unhealthy people bringing children into this world.
Right.
Man, speak to that, man.
Man, that is something. Did you, because I know my ex, she said that I didn't, you know, fight for the marriage when she filed for divorce, but my fight was I asked, did she want to do marriage counseling? Did you do marriage counseling? She opted not to do it. She said she didn't want to tell her business to a stranger.
Here's the thing about marriage counseling, Los, man.
Yeah.
Since you asked me that question, marriage counseling only works if both parties are willing to go to counseling and be completely honest.
Right.
So we tried marriage counseling, and that was my idea. Because to be honest, man, she wanted to do her thing, and I was the one trying to keep this together.
Okay.
And so I said, look, let's try marriage counseling. I'm like, man, I got to keep my family together, because in my mind, I'm like, you know, keeping us staying married is keeping my family together. You know, I don't know why we get caught up like that, but that's just the way I was thinking. And so, even though we had already filed, I actually filed for legal separation because it was just so bad. Okay. I still was trying us to work it out. And so I said, listen, let's go to therapy. And so she agreed to go. The problem was when we went and the therapist started asking real questions, like I would bear it all. Like I'm an open book. I just like, this is what I did. Da, 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 da.
Right.
I'm trying to make it work.
Yeah.
Then the therapist asks her, and it's like she don't want to talk about her stuff. She's in there, see, you're taking his side and all this other kind of crap. And I'm like, what? I mean, like they're trying to help us get through this, but you're looking at sides. Right. And all this other kind of stuff. So she opted to stop going to therapy. And so I said, well, you know, it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? But, shout out to her, man. She saved my life. So I'm certainly glad that everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. But they both parties have to want it. But no, we tried it. you know, she wasn't a willing participant to really go into therapy with an open mind and to just heal for herself. It wasn't even about us in the marriage. Like, look, just talk about it so you can heal. Because if you can heal yourself, now we can probably, and I can heal myself.
Right.
Now we can come together. And she just wasn't mature enough to be able to do that. And honestly, I probably wasn't at that time neither, because I went to therapy on my own after the divorce was final.
Okay.
Then I went to therapy on my own, because even though the divorce was final, I still felt like, man, did I do the right thing? Man, you know, my girls are gonna have a hard time with, you know, this situation.
Yeah.
I'm still struggling with what has happened. You know what I'm saying? So I put myself in therapy even after we tried as a couple. I was like, man, I'm not good.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to tell you. You tell me, man, I ain't good, man.
Right.
And you don't really have nobody to talk to, because you feeling like, man, you know, they ain't gonna understand. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I'm gonna tell somebody that my woman doing whatever. You know, I can't. You know, like you telling me about your situation, how she, you know, she wanted a divorce. Man, you're a good looking dude, man, doing well. I'm gonna go tell her, yeah, man, my girl, man, she don't want to be with me no more. What?
Yeah.
I can't talk about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't really, you know, talk. That's why when we find brothers that we can really like vibe with, we'll just like, we can talk to them because they get it. You know what I'm saying? They understand. They ain't even gonna sit here and make us feel like it's just us. I thought I was all by myself.
Yeah. And, you know, there's a perception that men, you know, we don't go through anything through a divorce. It's like, it's our, you know, get out of jail free card. You know, all my homeboys, they was like, oh man, you get to be single out in these streets for real. It was like, you know what's gonna be coming your way, and I was like, I like the family dynamic. Like I said, I'm okay with being a one woman man. I prefer that, and I want to be, you know, in the same house with my kids. That's, you know, that's just who I am. So, you know, they were more excited for me than I was. But, you know, and they was telling me to go out here and be a thought and everything.
Be a thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long ago was this, man? Was I saying thought back then? What you talking about, man? How long ago was this, man?
Yeah, 5 years.
That was 5 years ago?
Saying,
Okay, yeah, they was probably saying that. Yeah, that was probably being said, man. No, but you're right though. Like, first of all, I kept it a secret. My friends didn't even know I was getting a divorce until it was like, you know, I had moved in with my mom, and they was like, man, what's going on,
same
D?
thing. So you,
they didn't even know. And these were my boys, man. Like, we was tight, man. But you know what's funny though about relationships though? When you're going through a divorce and y'all go your separate ways, your friends, they all of a sudden, man, I knew it, bro, because I used to see her doing X, Y, Z, and that, bruh. Yeah. Well, it's probably good you didn't tell me. I probably would have jumped on you or something, you know, because you know, we're not able to deal with that kind of information. So it takes a certain level of maturity to deal with one of your friends telling you, "Hey, man, I saw your wife at X, Y, Z or whatever." You know what I'm saying? So, but everybody got all these stories now. Like, man, I'm glad you ain't with her no more, man. You do you better off, Don, and this and that. I'm like, okay, y'all ain't give your boy no warnings or nothing,
right? I want you to tell me.
Yeah, tell me, bro. I want to know, man. So I probably would have got mad, but at least I know. I know that, you know, y'all
got your back.
Got my back, man. You told me something I didn't want to hear. You know, and I got upset about it, of course. Back then I would have got upset because I felt like, man, you just think that, you know, certain things are not happening in your relationship. So you don't really want to believe that or whatever. But the more you mature, you know, hey, man, tell me, bro.
Oh, yeah.
You know, anything that you think is going on, it's okay to talk to me about it. It's all good. But back then, nah, man, I probably wasn't ready for it. But I still would have. I wish somebody would have told me still.
Yeah. Oh,
you know, now I can do what I want to do with that information.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of the big parts is, you know, we think that, you know, like you were saying, you know, outside looking in, I think people did think, you know, we had a great relationship. We had her uncle used to call us the Cosbys, you know, when he came over to the house and stuff. And, you know, I took pride in that. I was like, okay, I like that. I'm doing something right, you know. And, you know, my father's, you know, he passed when I was 19. So I was like, you know, I don't have that, you know, male figure to really look at me like that and be like, you know, you holding it down, you know, doing your thing, you know. So when he, you know, said stuff like that, it was, you know, it did give me a little boost of pride. I was like, okay, yeah, that's a good thing. And I think, you know, like you were saying with the old relationships, you know, they they stayed in it, man. They was, you know, it was, and you know, I wouldn't tell anybody to stay in a, you know, abusive relationship or, you know, somebody having an outside child, but them women, they did it back then. They was like, you know, daddy, he had a woman cross town, and he, you know, I felt like, you know, old woman would have told my ex, would have been like, baby, if that man is coming home to you and them kids every night, and he taking care of y'all, stay where you at. And
just like that too.
Yeah. In today's world, it's like they say, the pee in the pool. I don't, you know, I think people should really think about before they leave a marriage. If somebody, you know, marry you, you know, that's a, you know, big sense of, you know, what they, you know, think about you. They marry you and they, you know, faithful to you, and y'all in this thing, especially if you got kids. Think about what's out there if you leave that relationship, because nobody's gonna love your kids like I love them, you know, like my kids. and there's not a lot of people out here, you know, that even want to get married after a certain age, because they've either been through it or they just, you know, they want to be players. And, you know, I think a lot of women, you know that once you know, pass that, as somebody used to say on that podcast, danger zone. It's it's rough out here. It really is, man. It really is. And I saw the Black Love show that comes on. I forgot what. I think it's on Black Love, and Viola Davis and her husband was talking, and she said the marriage starts when you look over at your partner. They may be sleeping, and you say, could I kill him and get away with it? And then you look at him and you say, well, no, I love him. I guess I'll stick it out. So it's not going to be great days all the time, you know. And I feel like if we had stayed in it, then we would probably be in a, you know, place now. The kids are older, you know, probably would be doing more of that traveling and that kind of thing that, you know, she really wanted to do. I'm making more money. She's making more money. You know, we had, you know, what I thought was a good life. You know, we had rental properties. We had, I mean, everything together. And now it's, you know, I felt like at a time now, we would have been in like the prime of our life. And if we had stuck it out now, if, you know, would we have just prolonged maybe the divorce? I don't know, because, you know, maybe I would have still, like I said, because I did feel like I was to a point where I was never going to do enough. So, you know, maybe. But like I said, I probably would have never filed, you know, because of the kids. But I feel like maybe she still would have.
Wow. Yeah, man. I know you talked about filing for a divorce. I mean, we had a mutual understanding that this is just not working out. And so since I was the one with the income, you know, I went ahead and I filed for the divorce. But it was for irreconcilable differences. Like we both, you know, realized that this has just ran its course. And, you know, I get it, man. Basically, you're saying like, man, maybe things could have been different. You know, it's possible, man. I don't know, man. I think that I like your statement of people can. Would you say something about people change for who they want to change for?
Right. Yeah.
So, you know,
you can be with somebody for 10, 15 years and not, you know, do the things that they, you know, ask of you because they're not the person you want to do them for. But the moment you get with somebody that, you know, you feel like you want to do those things for, then you do.
Yeah. You know, and I think that happens all the time, more times than not. And somebody might be like, well, I was with that man for 20 years and he never did that. I mean, you wasn't the one, baby. I mean, so, you know, so it is what it is. I mean, I received that, man. So what advice would you give, husbands or men in your situation? I know you said that when it comes to you, you believe that, you know, children come first. And of course, that's the situation that you're in. I mean, your children, they better come first. I mean, right. So, but like, what advice would you like to leave to other men who find themselves in situations like this where they're going through a divorce and they're trying to figure some of this stuff out and balance a lot of this stuff? I mean, I like what you said about I don't bring all these women around, my children.
Right.
Only woman that my children ever met was Michael, and all the other girls, I just they
were random.
They would just So I'm gonna let everybody meet your daughters. I mean, I had 2 daughters at the time, so I ain't finna just be bringing these girls around. So Michael was the only one. By then, I was like, okay, I'm serious now.
Okay.
So what advice would you give other fathers?
The key word that you said was balance. I think that I think it's all about balance. Just make sure that you can, do your thing, because we all want somebody. We're not meant to be alone. So just make sure if you're doing your thing that you can balance that. Don't your kids. You have a standard. You have the set for them, and like you said, you don't want to be bringing different people in and out, because you don't want your daughters thinking, oh, well, this is normal. Dad's a gigolo, and so they start to that's becomes normal to them. And you don't want them to see that either. So I think the key word you said was balance. Make sure you have that balance, man.
And I'm assuming you also would like to, you would agree that like being a divorced father, or, even I guess if you're just, a father in general, if you're not married, then your children should most certainly come first.
Right. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, any woman coming in, they should already understand that. And with me, and it's rough, because and I talk to my friends about this. Like we said with the Bible, you leave your parents and you go to your spouse, and that's where it's at. And one of the best things that came out of my divorce was me being around my mother a lot more now, because I did. And when I went to my family, I was clinging to my family, and my mother was, right across the, city, 25 minutes away maybe, but I didn't see her as much as I probably should have. And so now she's, 78, almost 79, and I've been able to, be around her a lot more in these last 5 years. And that's something I would never compete with. I wouldn't compete if I date a woman with kids. I don't compete with your kids. I don't compete with your parents. I don't compete with your grandparents. I'm understanding of that. Like, if we get married, there is, an obligation to me, but I also understand that, your parents are important also. Your grandparents are important. Your children are, very important. And so I wouldn't want you to, put me necessarily before them, but we can be on that same level. I wouldn't get upset if I want to do something one weekend, and you decided you wanted to do something for your grandparents that weekend, or with your parents that weekend. I wouldn't say, oh, well, she putting them before me. That's messed up. I'd be like, okay, do your thing, and I would find me something to do. I think we put way too much emphasis on being first. To me, it can be a tie. Sometimes in basketball, you like basketball. Sometimes you should have a co-MVP, a co-rookie of the year. You can all kind of coexist, together, I think.
Okay. No, I definitely feel you on that, man. So I'm assuming that, because sometimes you're in a relationship, man, your spouse, if they don't have a healthy relationship with their parents, they don't want you to have a relationship with your parents.
Right.
And I will say, man, that, getting a divorce with my wife actually let me be closer to my dad, and and my mom too, but really mostly my dad, because there was so much tension, with her, because she didn't have a relationship with her family the way I had with my family. So it was almost like I didn't go around my family as much because, I don't know. I almost felt guilty because, I love my dad, and, and whatever the situation is with your parents or whatever, it almost made me feel guilty, man. But But yeah, no, that's interesting that you would talk about that dynamic as well, because you get married, you take on all of that.
You do.
You know,
Yeah.
you take on all of that, man, and they
Package
take on all
deal.
of that.
Package deal.
Package deal, man, all of that, man. But man, good stuff, Los, man. Listen, man, we're gonna wrap this up, man. This is gonna conclude the episode of Who Comes First, Free Game Don D, life, family, and business.
Free game.